welcome to Finding Hidden Courage. So glad that you're joining us today. We have an extraordinary interview with Linda Neal. And Linda is a dear friend as well as has an extraordinary journey to share with you. She encountered a very serious medical condition some years back, and I wanted her to share with us what happened, how she found out about this. More importantly, how did she cope with this? And now, today, how she continues to deal with it and live her life so fully. Linda's background is very unique as well. She's working on her second master's in fine arts in poetry. She has been published in many literary magazines. She's completed one book and she's working on her second. So I think you will enjoy hearing about Linda's journey. And I've asked her, if it so inspires her, to share with us any of her poetry along the way. I'd like to start with a brief summary, I guess, of what you experienced and what happened some years back.
My dark night of the soul.
Yes.
It was 1990. I was sick on and off for weeks, didn't know what was wrong. The doctors diagnosed me with the flu, and I just kept getting sicker and sicker, and finally wound up in the emergency room. It was kidney failure.
Ooh.
And it was sudden and acute, and I had no idea how it could have happened. They had to put a shunt in my neck that went into my heart to begin the dialysis, because that was the only way they could do it when you're in acute kidney failure. And I remember I just, out of the blue, asked the doctor if he would sing with me.
Sorry, how wonderful.
And so we sang. What I didn't know was he was an amateur opera singer.
Oh,
and we sang side by side.
Was it your choice?
Yes, I said, will you sing side by side with me?
Oh, how beautiful.
It was like I had to do something to make this an experience I could live through. So I wound up, eventually they did the surgeries to put a shunt in my arm.
Mm-hmm.
I would either be on dialysis for the rest of my life or get a transplant. And because I was still fairly young and the rest of my body was in good health, the doctor said, you're a perfect candidate for a transplant. But when I was on dialysis, I just kept trying to make the best of it. I did crazy things like, when you're in a dialysis unit, everybody is moaning and groaning, and people have their own little TVs set up out in front of them, and I wound up watching these horrible game shows. I couldn't do needlepoint because I couldn't move my arms because you have this shunt in your arm, and I couldn't really do anything, so I'd watch these horrible game shows. Because I thought, if I'm going to make the best of this, I have to do whatever I can, because it's a horrible experience, dialysis.
Is it painful?
Yes. I could read you a poem.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love that.
I think most people know who Hal is from 2001.
Yes. The Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is called My Hal. My Hal sits in the corner of the room, waiting. Doesn't talk, his metal body holding Linda's kidney to filter my toxic blood. Each time I think I'm ready for blood to flow from my arm, through him, back into my arm, rinsing. Each time I think I won't vomit on my blouse. Each time the nurses, frozen in place, their uniforms as stiff as their words, tell me I'm normal. The acrid smell of dialysate, blood, and vomit permeates the bright room. And the moans from the bodies in the chairs float on the air. Ambulance attendants remove the woman who just writhed into coma code blue. After 3 hours with Hal, I stand up straight enough to say goodbye to the 20 lounge chairs and their prone tenants, wave to the empty wheelchair in the corner, to the whirring washing machine that holds my proxy kidney in its cold metal arms. In the hospital cafeteria, I eat the only meal that won't taste like salty, pungent piss for the next 2 days. All the rest will be nausea, followed by sleep, and waiting for my next date with Hal. In the cafeteria, a man sees my bulging bandaged arm and says, "Isn't it a miracle, dialysis?" I nod, say nothing. The cafeteria lights are too bright. The floor rises and buckles under my feet. I take my tray to the linoleum-topped table. Zucchini and chicken. No tomato, no potato, no coffee, no walnut-studded cookie. I want the machine that binds me to this life to lift me like a bird, fly me away from this surreal diorama of days. A murky scrim hovers around me. An ocean of dirty blood flows through me. I set my fragile body down in the chrome and plastic chair. The cheerful woman at the corner table cackles a platitude about how lucky I am to be alive. I don't know about luck right now, just sitting down to my plate of roast chicken and buttered squash.
Whoa. Thank you for sharing that. Wow, it went right through me. And I hear in that so much of acceptance, of gratitude in a different way, and yet bound to something that is so artificial that's keeping you alive. And I guess gratitude for that.
It's revised considerably because the language, when I first wrote it, was so angry. I wanted it to tell a story, but not to just be so rageful. A poem has to have a certain, what Coleridge called recollection in tranquility of something very strong. So to recollect it in tranquility, you get a sense of the strength of the emotion, but the emotion isn't like
overt,
vomited all over you.
Yes.
All over the reader or the listener. And I think that's really important.
So then the transplant came, and was that a difficult operation, and a little bit about that and your recuperation time?
The operation, it's a big operation, but it's so exciting to know that, oh my God, I'm going to be able to pee again. A lot of people don't understand that when you have total kidney failure, you do not pee. And so you can't drink many fluids at all.
Oh.
Lettuce counts as a fluid because it's so high in water.
Yes.
So to know that I'd be able to pee again was absolutely an amazing
extraordinary
gift. Yeah.
You would not even know that unless you went through it.
Right.
Thank you for sharing
you
that.
You can have partial kidney failure and still your kidney may not filter toxins, but you still get rid of fluid. I didn't even get rid of fluid.
And how often were you having the dialysis?
Every third day. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Sundays I always looked forward to Monday because
you wanted
I had
to
go a whole weekend.
And so you really had to monitor how much liquid you were having.
Absolutely. So the transplant was really an amazing gift. And they couldn't find me. In those days, this was 1991, people had pagers, but you didn't have cell phones the way you do now. I had a pager, but it was in my purse in the dialysis unit. They were calling me at home. They were calling me on my pager. They couldn't find me. And finally they called, UCLA was where I had my transplant. Finally they called the unit, the dialysis unit, and the nurse screams out, "They have a kidney for Linda!"
And everyone's there.
Everyone's there.
And wanting the same thing.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. It's amazing that, in that moment. They didn't even finish the dialysis. They took me off the machine because they knew I was going to be transplanted. It was crazy.
But it was,
But it was
the
very
emotion
exciting.
was a new life.
Oh, it was very exciting.
Were you fearful at all that your body would reject, or?
I didn't have that kind of fear. I just said, this, I know this is going to work. I had faith that somehow I wanted it so much, and I trusted that the process, that it would be, that it would work, and that I would be
That
okay.
you would be
Yeah.
okay. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
You were doing poetry?
Yeah, I did continue to write. I can remember lying in bed early in the morning in the dark writing sometimes. And I actually went and I got some stuff published, went and did a couple of readings, and I still had a social life. And somehow after I got my kidney, I just knew that I wanted to bring in a man that would have a soul that would somehow resonate with me.
Beautiful.
And I've learned the technique that if you had a certain length ad, not too long, not too short, certain kind of ad would be placed up at the top of the page.
Oh, clever.
So I asked for a man with music in his soul.
Beautiful.
And that's how I met Mike. He was definitely a mate for me. We had our struggles, but we also had a great
Passion.
deep passion and understanding
And soulful
who
sounds
we
like.
were. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that you have that. And
I feel really
yes.
fortunate and grateful.
I do have a question. During this whole transition, because poetry is so reflective of what's going on inside of us, did your poetry start to take on a different flavor, particularly about your situation? Did you write more about, now that you've you crossed over from your transplant, did it change the way you wrote about it?
It changed the way I wrote in general. I've become, and part of it is the process of age as well, I think. More reflective, more broad in scope. I was writing some essays. I won some awards. One day I was walking down the street. I think I had walked the dog, and I saw I had entered a contest in the local newspaper, and I saw the front page, and there was my essay about living in the same town for my whole life. So that was really rich and
Beautiful.
wonderful. And I wrote a poem, which I'd like to read to you, called After the Transplant.
Great.
After the transplant, I thought I would be different. I thought I would be the same. I thought I would stop thinking about the transplant, stop dreaming of white rooms, orange juice, and pee. I would forget about death, filter my life down to what matters, sift and name. Yet here I am, talking to myself, to everyone, to this fleshy new being stitched into my belly. He's memorizing me. I'm learning what he likes for breakfast, how to pamper him. Because we are on intimate terms, like any woman with her lover, any mother with her child. We exchange fluids and feel our mutual pulse. We sleep together, him just under my skin, and together we've dreamed the surgeon placing him just so, lining up the sutures, molding our fleshes together, giving us to each other in this ritual of marriage, in this ritual of rebirth.
Thank you, Linda, for reading that. It is beautiful, and it's also revealing about your journey and the progress that you made in your acceptance with the transplant, with the not having to do dialysis. It was very, very beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
So when you think about, again, coming to completely the other side in your life today, and you're reflective of how it changed you or how it had impact on you, what else comes to mind when you think of what you've been through, but the impact it has had on you today?
You know, like I said in the poem, I thought I would be so different, but I'm not. I mean, I've grown and I've changed. Part of that is years of therapy. Um, a part of it is just the process of aging, I think, and the maybe wisdom that comes with age. But I think too, there's a little bit of that gratitude and a sense of wonder that I'm surviving.
Yes.
Sometimes I'm in awe of the fact.
Yes.
But on an everyday basis, I just go on doing what seems to have meaning or give me pleasure. And I think of some of the music that I love, the jazz that Mike played, and then also some of the really great lyricists and great singers.
Who comes to mind?
Joni Mitchell,
Yeah.
and of course I've been a fan of Leonard Cohen for a long time.
He is one of my favorites.
And it's not only that he's a great musician, he has an interesting, fascinating mind, and his poetry is really grounded in the ancient old techniques. He's not just a fly-by-night lyricist.
Is there anything that you'd like to read?
Absolutely.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
You knew I'd say that, didn't
well,
you?
as we conclude our talk, I would love to finish on a high note. How much higher can you get than Leonard Cohen?
Or lower.
Or lower.
He's known as sort of the Prince of Darkness.
Okay.
He has something like 363 sobriquets,
Wow.
names
Yes.
for his way of being that people have dreamed up. This is one of his later poems that came out in his last book that his son edited. The book is called The Flame. Thanks for the dance. Thanks for the dance. I'm sorry you're tired. The evening has hardly begun. Thanks for the dance. Try to look inspired. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. There's a rose in my hair. My shoulders are bare. I've been wearing this costume forever. Turn up the music. Pour out the wine. Stop at the surface. The surface is fine. We don't need to go any deeper. Thanks for the dance. I hear that we're married. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Thanks for the dance and the baby I carried. It was almost a daughter or a son. And there's nothing to do but to wonder if you are as hopeless as me and as decent. We're joined in the spirit, joined at the hip, joined in the panic, wondering if we've come to some sort of agreement. It was fine, it was fast. I was first, I was last, in line at the temple of pleasure. But the green was so green, and the blue was so blue. I was so I, and you were so you. The crisis was light as a feather. Thanks for the dance. It's been hell. It's been swell. It's been fun. Thanks for all the dances. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1.
Ah, perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
For being here
Thank
and
you
for your inspiring story.
Thank you for allowing me to tell my story.
Great. Thank you, Linda.